we'd like to thank our sponsors for bringing us our new microphone. Okay. If they want to be mentioned by name, I can mention them. Okay. Now we'll say it's anonymous. They know who they are. Okay. So Rabbi Avi Yosef wrote as follows: Hazman ha'ra'ui bioter la'amirat slichot b'yamim eleh hu mechatzot halayla ve'elach. The proper time is from midnight and on. By the way, it's not what we find in the Rambam and others, where they talk about Ashmoret. What's a nafkamina? This is after midnight. Midnight means you either stay up really late and wait for midnight, or you wake up in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep afterwards. Ashmoret just means, according to the Rambam, it means you wake up an hour or half an hour earlier than you normally do, because Rambam assumes the best way to, at least a normal person, if you're a Talmud Chacham, you wake up extra early every night to study Torah. Okay, you get up before everybody to study Torah. But if you're a human, a regular balabas, you wake up at dawn, selichot daven v'asikin, and then get to work. So Ashmoris means wake up before dawn, so that you maintain your regular schedule. You have time for tachanunim. Shazu eit ratzon lifnei Hashem yitbarach, because then it's a time of favor for God. Oh man! But in the first half of the night, it is forbidden. Forbidden. Harsh word, really? Forbidden? Cancel the slichos and the 13 midos. Both are off the table. That's forbidden. Usser. This should be suspect. Remember, if it ain't in the Talmud, and it was never Gzera, Keren de Rabbeinu Gershon is not in the Talmud. As far as I know in the Talmud, like the Bible, polygamy is permissible. I'm not recommending you get a second wife. At least for those of you who are unmarried, get yourself a wife already. For those of you who are married, you probably don't want to be a polygamist. It comes with, the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, and it'll probably upset your parents and your wife and your in-laws. So don't do that. Let's see here. Hold on. So why is it usher? What's shar kavanot? Drush Aleph Darvid. Talking about this, you could find the source. What is shar kavanos? Let's do some biographical information here. The Ari was a contemporary of the Beis Yosef, a much younger contemporary. He lived in Sfat. They both lived in Sfat. The Beis Yosef, I think, died in 1577, just a few years after the Ari, who passed away at the age of like 38 or 39, something like that. He didn't live long. The Ari, we don't have many of his writings. The Ari studied a lot of Zohar. The Zohar itself, there are very few actual halachic practices that people derive from it. Yes, famously, because of the Zohar, people stopped wearing tefillin and chol moed, which we've discussed before, and a few other things. They say maybe because the Zohar says so. But the Zohar never purports to be a halachic text. It's what people called it, a medrash. It's midrashic style. It's almost biblical commentary and homiletics. The Ari studied it, I don't know, a lot, much more than most other people did. And then the teachings of the Ari were written down by who? His students, mostly Rabbi Chaim Vital, or Vidal. How do you pronounce it? Well, it's very interesting. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein mentions in the Tshuva something that you could have realized if you know languages. In European languages, Chaim Vidal is one of the most redundant names you could have, like Evan Rockstein or Peter Evan Rockstein. Okay? Why? Because Vidal means life. Vitality means, life things. So, and that's what it means today. Okay? So it's a European language. Chaim Vital means life. Just like Yonatan Netanyahu is the most palindromic name in Hebrew, right? Palindromic means the same thing backwards. Okay? So it's the Shem Havaya, Nassan, which is palindromic, then another Nassan palindromic, and then Shem Havaya. Okay? Makes you wonder why his father gave that name. Great Jewish hero, but also very, very, very funny name. So Chaim Vidal is a very redundant name. Like I mentioned, Peter Evan Rockstein. Don't make me explain it. Okay? Leon's looking at me funny. Okay, so he passed away in, I think, 1620. So Rav Chaim Vidal outlived the Ari by many years, and he's the one who wrote down many of these things. Others wrote it also. It's Sefer Eitz Chaim. What is Sefer Eitz Chaim? It's the one they learn over there. We have like 20 copies right over there. Shar Kavanos is one of the 8 gates of the Eitz Chaim. Sefer Gilgulim is another. And that is much more practical. That is, it takes these Kabbalistic ideas and translates them into, I wouldn't say halacha ma'aseh, but ma'aseh, what you got to do. So there are many things that we're going to see, and we've seen before, that even though the Ari was a contemporary of the Beis Yosef, and the Beis Yosef thought very highly of him, there's very little of what the Ari was doing or advocating or teaching that the Beis Yosef incorporated into his own writings. Matter of fact, many of these things only came out like I said, well after they passed away. The Shla was in Europe at the time. The Shla was an older contemporary of the Ari. He outlived him by many years, and he came to Eretz Yisrael after Rav Chaim Vidal died, and stayed there for about another decade before his own passing. And the Shla popularized Meidid's Minhagim for Ashkenazim. So you understand a lot comes from, for example, Shar Kavanos. Now, Shar Kavanos is very non-Talmudic, and we're going to see what it says there regarding this. V'da shebechatzot halayla rishon ein lomar klal. You should not say at all shum slichos, no slichos at the first half of the night. V'lo lazkir yud gimel midos. Okay, ad kan. Shouldn't say the yud gimel midos at all. The Rosh Kol will be very proud. I'm quoting the Shar Kavanos. Normally they're sitting there reading Shar Kavanos, and I'm doing something else. And right now he walked in, he doesn't even know what I'm saying because I'm saying it in English. But we're actually doing it. I almost think like screaming out in Hebrew and start reading this. The Kain Kus of Magen Avraham. You also find Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham brought this. Now, Magen Avraham was as European as they come in Ashkenazic. The fact is that he put this into his Shulchan Aruch, and now it becomes, it's a nosekim. People think it's actually Shulchan Aruch says you're not supposed to have slichos on the first half of the night because Magen Avraham brought this. Suddenly mainstream. The Rosh finds assume like once Magen Avraham has it, it's basically normative halacha. V'agona mekuba Rabbi Moshe Zakut. Okay, he's the Ramaz. Rabbi Moshe Zakut in his shoot, the Ramaz, shoot named after himself. It means his responsa. He's piadrim but batuv tam v'das al pia Kabbalah. He explains what's wrong with slichos or yugin melidos the first half of the night. Here it goes. V'shalal b'chot tokef amirat slichot b'achtzir rishon shalayla, and he negated. Okay, totally. Chol tokef, all fours saying slichos the first half of the night. Ki az who ate hitga brut hadinim, because that's the time of when the dinim, justice, or the dinim, whatever that may be, they're really strong. Okay, midever ba'ofa yahaloch. Okay, midever ba'ofa means like this is a pestilence in the ophel. That means it's a type of darkness. He will walk. Okay, you really can't say slichos the first half of the night. It's really, really bad. If you knew what we were talking about. Slichot through the recitation of the slichos and the 13 midos at that time means the first half of the night. It's like we're getting into their space. Okay, the dinim, which are apparently not so good for us, we're getting their space if we say slichos or yugmil midos at the first half of the night. Wow, this is what Rabbi Kirschenbaum used to call heebie-jeebie things. And it's as though we're trying to stop the dinim from working. And we're causing a jealousy. We're awakening the jealousy from the powers of the dinim against us. And we're actually accomplishing the reverse. Okay, we're supposed to be beseeching God for mercy. If we recite these merciful prayers at this time, we're going to be invoking more din. I don't know how that works. I can't explain this myself, but that's what he says. That's the reason. So we're going to accomplishing the reverse. And then Rav Avi also adds that you could find an idea like this in Yerushalmi. We're going to say that this isn't necessarily what the Yerushalmi says, by the way, but here's how they interpret Yerushalmi. Rabbi Chanina ben Papa havi maflik tzedakah b'lelia. Rabbi Chanina ben Papa used to give out tzedakah in the middle of the night, or nighttime thing. Matam b'seser means put on disguise, yasla miser style, and give people secret tzedakah. Okay. Pagabe Rabahon de Ruchaya. He was encountered by the captain of the spirits, Ruchaya, the destructive spirits, or the winds. Okay, their Ravhon means their master came to him. Amar le lokain alfan Rabbi. Is it not true that Rabbi, either you, our master, has taught us, or Rabbi Nasi taught us? Wait, this Amora or this Tana used to teach the Ruchos Torah? By the way, he says, didn't you teach us? Lo tasri guvul reacha. Don't invade someone else's space. Don't get in someone else's space. You're taking over. Lo tasri guvul reacha literally means in the Torah, if there's a border marker between the fields, you're not supposed to move it. Land grab by moving your friend's fence overnight. Suddenly you have more territory and he doesn't. And Chazal interpreted it also as taking away other people's parnasa. Like, one guy, of course, why in secret? Because matam b'seser is good. It embarrasses people. You want to if you give people tzedakah to their face, a lot of people won't take it, but some people desperately need it. So this is a Jewish tradition. The Rambam has the 10 levels of giving tzedakah. Okay, the worst way is just face-to-face giving it, so that has the most loss of dignity, right? And the best way to give tzedakah is by getting people back on their feet so they can have jobs. Okay, I'm getting a lot of messages. Let's finish this. Okay, so Chazal said it's also getting in the way of person's parnasa. Just like there's one guy who's the local, I don't know, barber. Not many people. There's 3 guys in town. One guy's the barber. Another guy moves in. He's like, I'm opening up a barber shop too. That's hasagas gvul. Of course, Chazal have exceptions to such a thing, but that's one of the ideas. So basically, the Rav and the Ruchaya, the captain of the spirits, is telling Rabbi Hanina Bar Papa, one of Rav Papa's sons, one of the 10, right? You're doing wrong. You're sort of getting in my space here. Okay, but is that all the Gemara? By the way, they don't finish quoting the Gemara over here. Let's continue what he says. Either way, this is brought as a proof that the Ruchos have dominance then. By the way, notice it doesn't say in the first half of the night. I would have said that this might actually show all night. Well, and they're taught by Rav. So there's a few kashas, but it didn't hear. This was basically a proof. If it is what they say, it's a proof to all night. Okay? What? But Rav, the Ruchaya didn't say the first half of the night. He was basically saying all night is our gvul. So don't mess. And by the way, is that what Ruchaya actually mean? So we're going to see that there's a lot more to this. And it says in the Birkei Yosef, Shebikan Raya Labash because of Ma'arit Tzemach. This is also proof to what Ma'arit Tzemach wrote. Shalayla who's Mandin Gomor. Okay, Laila is the Mandin completely. Really, it was improper for him to start giving out tzedakah, which invokes God's compassion for people. He shouldn't have done it at that time. Okay, so v'chol mi sheyesh lo musag mitoras hachein. Okay, that means the mysterious stuff. Anybody who understands these Kabbalistic ideas, right? Yodea mivin she'oseh kein b'shaot halayla rishonot hu karov liot mikatzeitz banatios. You say your slichos and you're good milmidos at this time. You're mekatzeitz natios. What's mekatzeitz natios? Or kotzeitz natios in the pollen instead of the pio. What is it? That's what Rabbi Elisha ben Avuya did when he became Acher. We went off the derech. Okay, it's a form of heresy. You're basically taking the Torah's teaching and flipping them on, and you're ruining everything. Now, by the way, I think that this is the refuge of scoundrels. Why? If you want to make a halachic argument for something, you bring proof to what you say, not just try to scare. And anybody who disagrees, or anybody who says otherwise, is undermining Judaism altogether. If I was advocating worship of the Baal or of Jebus or something like that, I can understand why that'd be considered undermining Torah. If I tell people you don't have to listen to the words of the sages, the Talmud is not the final word on halacha, don't listen to Sanhedrin, I can understand why I'm undermining the Torah. If you tell me that perhaps this halachic idea that is first expounded upon in Shar Kavanos is maybe not normative halacha, I wouldn't really. I get sort of hurt you saying that. Oh no, now you're undermining the entire premise of our teachings. But that's the extreme language they use here. Okay. Therefore, ein lomar slichos ela o bayom o b'shmor taboker mechatzot alayla ve'elach. This is sort of self-contradictory. Should only say slichos by day, or from ashmor saboker, which is the second half of the night, which is not true. It's the last third of the night. By the way, they're conflating it here. By day, God will send forth, command His kindness. And he says, and that's the minhag, so that's why we say in Ashmores. By the way, the fact that we say slichos in Ashmores is ancient. It's from the Gaonim. This idea that you can't say in the first half is a little bit more recent. Like I said, God is beyond time. Yeah, okay.
It's already day.
Okay. Yeah, I know. So that's an important thing. That's a Maimonidean idea. We're going to see it soon. That minhag that they have in some places, our minhag in New York, where they say slichos at the first half of the night, the beginning of the night, is a practice that is evil and bitter. It should be forgotten forever, never mentioned again. Okay. Gedolei Ador, great rabbis of the generation, should denounce them. Destroy their minhag. Make sure they don't do it anymore. There's nothing on which to rely. Neither mishan or mishana, which is the feminine form. He says there's no basis for the idea that you could say slichas the first half of the night. It's totally wrong. This is the very severe language. Everybody who's masters of the secrets, who are holding on to this fortress of the Torah. Oh, Torah Kabbalah. People who know Kabbalah. Okay, they forbid this practice. Okay, definitively. Yakum, and upon them shall stand up. What's he referring to? Give me a second. Kozan Avadia B. Shame I can't just switch to. Here it is. You see this on the screen? Okay, it's really bad. It's the worst thing. Davar ki ruach Hashem diber bam umilato al lishonam. Okay, God, God's spirit is spoken through these Kabbalists, and God's word is on their tongue, so you should listen to them. V'chein pasak Magen Avraham al pi Arizal. So the Magen Avraham ruled on this matter based on the Ari. Okay, from the Shar Kavanos. She'elomar kodem chatzot laila shum slichos v'lo yigim nigos b'shum panim leolam. And this is also, he's going to bring a lot of poskim felt this way. Okay, that's true. You can find a lot of poskim, but what he doesn't bring is any Rishonim who felt this way, or any Talmud that feels this way. So he says you can find it. Everybody says this. This is, I think, a usual, I'd say, a trick that you find in the Chazon Ovadia and other similar Sfarim, where he just brings, a ton of poskim say this, and here's a long laundry list of who said it, but who didn't say it, and who disagreed, or who implicitly disagreed. That they don't say. Okay. It's like stacking the deck, or stacking the court. It says Meter. Friar Mishnah Berurah mentioned these. The Mishnah Berurah does mention it, but it doesn't say sound so strongly. It just mentions, in passing almost. Umikant Shuvalam or Moshe Feinstein. Wow, in the Igros Moshe Feinstein actually defends the practice. He gives so much respect to this thing, but he takes it very seriously. This no slichos the first half of the night, but then says b'diavad shasat chak balabatim we can't do. Maybe it's okay for them to say slichos first in the first half of the night. Okay, I'm going to read something that someone else wrote soon that goes much farther. Moshe Feinstein assumes all this. Well, it's midnight. Midnight's at like 12:40 or so. So that's, you can't say slichos before that, according to them. Okay, so Moshe Feinstein defended Balabatim and even said that it's a shasat chak, they shouldn't get permanently into doing it. And even that was not good enough for Rabbi Yosef. Says this is a tshuva. This is a rejoinder to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, who wrote in Igros Moshe. You could check it. Sheim iyashar latzibur lemar slichos achar chatzos alayla. It's too hard on latzibur. Let them get together at 9 or 10 for slichos. Yesh latir lahem derech rasha. One-time dispensation. Lomar slichos kodem chatzos alayla. Kevan she'ein makor le'isser zeh min haGemara. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says this isser that they're talking about has no source in the Talmud. Maimonidean style. I can't forbid them something that the sages didn't forbid. Ella al pi Sifrei Kabbalah. Yes, it's Sifrei Kabbalah forbid it. Umistaber she'ein bazeh inyan shel isser. It must be, truthfully speaking, Moshe Feinstein saying the truth here. There's no real isser. Ella she'ein mo'ilim b'koach yud gimel midos sheish haftacha she'ein chozrim rikam. Perhaps the promise that the yud gimel midos are always efficacious. God says he'll never answer. He'll never give back a no to the yud gimel midos. Maybe that's all bets are off if it's said in the first half of the night. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just it won't work so well. I don't know. That also doesn't sound so Maimonidean. Ella hein kestam tefillah. It's just the stamp tefillah. It won't have the special power of yud gimel midos with the minion. I ain't sham. So he says here that Rav Moshe Feinstein was unaware of what the Ramaz says. Shezen nechshav karov liot mekatzetz bintiot. For Moshe Feinstein was aware that the Ramaz says that this is actually undermining their entire Judaism. Then he wouldn't have written this. Rav Moshe was talking like a posek, but he didn't realize how bad it is. Okay, it destroys everything. And you could find that Rabbi David Zakud also wrote this. Shemagomi Kuba wrote Aaron. So they said, wait, don't we say slichos right when Yom Kippur begins? Leil Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is an exception because Yom Kippur all day long you're supposed to say slichos. This will be enough for our purposes here because we have to wind this up. Here it is. Here's the source pages. First of all, let's see what the Yerushalmi actually says. This Yerushalmi is in Peah and in Shkalim. What happened with Rabbi Chino Bar Papa? They just said that Rabbi Chino Bar Papa encountered the Rav Hon de Ruchaya, who told him, hey, you're getting in our space. But what's the rest of the story? Here's how it goes. Amarle kachu upon Rabban. Oh, don't Rabbi. Aren't you invading our space? And he says, Amarle velochein. Okay? Not really. Ksiv. Isn't it written Matan b'seser yichpe'af, giving tzedakah in secretly, a good way, so it maintains the dignity of the recipients, right? Will sort of push down. It'll block the God's wrath, the af. Okay, so I'm being protected by the fact that I'm actually doing this mitzvah. V'haya mitkafe mine v'arak min kumei. He basically, like that, block, get his shoulder up here, and he ran away from him. He was able to triumph over the captain of the spirits by answering him this, saying, yeah, but I'm doing a mitzvah, so I'm protecting. By the way, so what does this show? This story actually says the opposite of what they were trying to tell them. They're trying to tell us, say slichas, no, but you're getting in the way of the ruchos. You're not letting them do what you need to do. Yeah, but Rabbi Hanina Bar Papa eventually was able to beat them and say, yeah, but I'm doing a mitzvah that invokes God's mercy. I'm giving out tzedakah. So I have nothing to fear. And by the way, you look at the Mefarshim, they don't understand this Gemara the way the Kabbalists do. Someone just brought into me a copy of Art Scrolls Peah, which has more. Normally I don't look at the Art Scroll on the Gemaras, but he had an Art Scroll Peah here, Yerushalmi. And even there, they don't mention any of this Kabbalistic idea. They just give pshat. The Korban Eidah, for example, says the time is the night is for the spirits, and the time when you should not go out and endanger yourself snooping around in disguise. Others say because a Talmud Chacham is not supposed to go out at night unless accompanied at least by two other people. It's not right. That is, what is going on here? This is a poetic way of saying that Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa wondered if his whole Matan B'Seser snooping around. Let's say, how would he do Matan B'Seser? He'd probably put on a black hood, disguise himself a little bit, and go around at night with some money and try to deposit in people's houses. If you caught someone snooping around at night, going from house to house, and he has money with him, he could claim, I'm giving out money. Most people don't do that. If you're the type of person going out at night, by the way, when are all the list them out, robbers and stuff, why is it dangerous out at night? It's not that it's evil spirits of, demonic nature. That's when criminals are out. Yeah, it's cover. So Rabbi Hanina's taking is basically putting himself in danger. We have stories of other Tanaim and Amoraim who were caught snooping around when they shouldn't have been, and they nearly got themselves killed doing it. Who was it? What was the Tana who nearly got himself killed? He went to his own property to see what was going on, and his shomrim actually caught him and started beating him. And he didn't know if he should say, I'm the great Tana so-and-so, because that'd be using the Torah as a form of covet. He got himself in trouble. So Rabbi Hanina Bar Papa was wondering, this story about him encountering the captain of the spirits was basically a midrashic way of saying, I really considered that what I was doing was dangerous, considering the time and the way I was doing it. And then I reasoned that the merit of giving the tzedakah will protect me. That's what he's saying. And then there was no danger. Okay? He was taught. That's basically what it is. So the rationalists say that the demons have power then, so don't do mitzvahs then. That's what they're saying. The demons have power, you shouldn't do anything then. And by the way, they didn't explain, so what's the difference between the first half of the night and the second half of the night? But the rational way of understanding this, like the Mefarshim, is there might be inherent danger to doing certain things at night, like snooping around with money and giving it out, even if you're doing the right thing. And the answer is the merit of the mitzvah protects, which is, by the way, so this means also, so if you go out to daven with the minyan late at night, even if it's 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, it'll protect you. And by the way, why stop at slichos? Why did they use this to say, and you shouldn't say slichos, shouldn't give out tzedakah, you shouldn't say slichos. Maybe there are other things that we should also avoid then, right? Shouldn't do chesed. You shouldn't clothe people if you need to. Feed the those who are hungry. Take care of those who are deathly ill. Right? Maybe you shouldn't do anything. Secondly, the bottom line is that even though it's demon time then at night, it could be that Matan B'Seser protects, and those also Zechus Tefilas Rabim also protects. Okay, so and the last thing I said, to declare that some position is Kotzeitz Ben Netiyoth is like I said, it's kind of mean. So why is this not a Maimonidean idea? Because the Rambam says explicitly in Hilchos Tshuva what? That there is this idea that we say slichos and ashmores. Why? Because the best time to repent is aser simei tshuva, right? So you get up in the middle of the night, that is, get up before it's normal, and you daven until it turns light. By the way, what's the old explanation? Why did they start saying slichos at ashmores? Why not as a tosefes to mariv? The basic reason is they barely used to daven mariv in the olden days. Before electricity, people used to not go out, right? Yeah. So, yeah. And it only became a thing. So early in the morning, you could go out because even the robbers are already going to sleep then. It's a form of conquering your Yetzer Hara to get up. Staying up late, by the way, let's say you have two choices. You need to do an hour of pious study to add to your Seder. Is davening Marv and then staying up an hour later as studying harder than waking up an hour earlier and studying? You know why? Because once you're out, teenagers, okay, discover this from my children. It's very easy for teenagers to just, stay up an hour, 2 or 3 or 4. That they could easily do. But to wake up in the morning to go to school, Gewalt. You know why? Because the Yetzer Hara has a special power. It teaches people to stay up late than they're supposed to, so it ruins the next day. But he can make you stay in bed. Even if you're rested, he'll overpower you and make you stay in bed. Waking up Ashmores to daven, at least in the old way of thinking, and this is what David HaMelech used to do. Wake up. You have to be Miskaber Ka'ari, because that's when the Yetzer Hara is strongest. Even waking up half an hour earlier than you're used to, so you could stay sleepless before your regular minyan, that's really sticking it to the Yetzer Hara, which, by the way, that's what sounding shofar is about, sticking it to the Yetzer Hara. And the Rambam says here in the second halacha that afal pi, that tshuva and tzedakah is good for, always good. Yafel olam, not means good for the world. It means good, always good, right? You repent during these 10 days. That's the best time. It's received with favor. Why? Because it says, seek out God when you can find him. When can you find God? When is he close? We're talking about individuals, individual repentance. Aval b'tzibur, you have a tzibur. Kol zaman she'osin tshuva tzoakim b'lev shalem heim na'aniyim. Anytime they cry out to God sincerely, full heart, what happens? They're answered. According to the Rambam, and basically anybody who lived before the Ari, if you get together for slichos anytime, if it's a tzibur, so anytime is good, God will answer. Right? It says in the pasuk, like the Lord our God, whenever we call him. And also it says Hein El Kabir. Okay, the great God, that's Alu Akbar in Hebrew, he does not reject the tefillah of the Rabbin. Okay, so this idea is already a little bit iffy. So I'll close with this. Saying I wrote to a few Rabbanim, and they accepted it. I remember there was a rabbi in Tel Aviv who has quite a big position, okay, who wanted to speak to me after I wrote this. Okay, he says, yeah, you should send this to everybody, and a good defense of the minhag to say the slichos early. My intention here is to defend what we do in New York, which was slichos first half of the night and also early in the morning, after dawn and after sunrise. The sages not institute slichos, and they do not have any corresponding service in the temple. The Rambam says, how do you know when it's time to daven Marav, Musaf, Mincha, Shachris? What are the corresponding times? What they did in the temple with the korbanos. So that makes a lot of sense. Slichos is not corresponding to anything in the temple. So it's any time. Since the time the Gonim, Haminhag means minhag ba'alma, means just minhag. The minhag of slichos was ashmoris, wake up early before shachris. Didn't mean like this is a required time. By the way, also the time for saying slichos is not just the time of day; it's also days. They only said it a much more limited time, 10 days, and by that, in 2 of those, basically 3 of those days, they didn't even say slichos. Those aseres me'tshuva, 2 are Rosh Hashanah in Chutz La'aretz, and 1 is always Shabbos. So you're not going to say it. The early Rishonim, we mentioned Rosh, Rif, and Tur. Why? They mentioned this acceptable minhag of slichas. Kiyumi means elective. You can choose to do it. They never told us there's a time required for slichas. That is, Rambam says, and others echo him. Shachris before a certain time, lo yatzah, and if you miss that time, you have to make it up. Minchas say too. Before a certain time, you didn't do anything, if you davened, and if you missed that time, now you have to make it up. But they never said such a thing with slichas, right? Oh, sheish zmanim shein lomar otam kamo shehem tzinu l'shar tefilot. And they didn't tell us there's a time that doesn't count for those davenings, like with regards to other tefillos. Ufi chachmei kabbalah al pi shar kavanot. According to the chachmei kabbalah, according to the shar kavanos, hachetzia sheni shal laila hu eratzon v'yish dafka lomar bo slichot v'od tefilot gam. So they say the second half, these Kabbalists, second half of the night, that's when you say slichos. V'zeh muva b'magen Avram aval adayin chashuv linkot. The Magen Avram mentioned this. Shakpadazo waitaz aral kodmav. This hakpada was foreign, alien to those who preceded the Ari. Okay, up until the Ari, there's no halacha. V'lo nifsakal halacha. It wasn't brought on halacha. That's why I'm not going to find a Shulchan Aruch or code. We have to investigate this a lot. We actually have to throw the ball back into their court. They're the burden of proof is on them to show us why there's any danger or prohibition or halachic problem with saying slichas the first half of the night. How did the preferred time for saying slichas, ashmoris, become to chok v'lo yavor, a must, to the exclusion of all the other hours? How did that happen? I must have missed it, you know? It's like the Vilna Gaon says, when did yarmulke become an obligation? Until I thought it was Midas Chasidus, turned around. Now they're telling me you're a shegitz if you don't wear yarmulke. Okay? Vod kashet lama. And also, it's hard to understand why. If we hold like those who prohibit, okay? Why do they care about for this and after nates? There's other reasons you shouldn't say it after nates. Okay, why are they getting on the first half of the night? Okay. I also don't understand even hard for the Igros Moshe. Rambam says they used to get up early for slichos, right? And Rambam say it after Marv. Could have just said if it's at night, do it after Marv. Why before Shachris? So Rav Moshe said, "V'hoyel shneim laila harei lehedesh afilu rishonim lagonim chatzio hasheni shel laila adif." Rav Moshe finds it says they could have done after Marv, or they could do it before Shachris. They do it before Shachris. Must be the second half is better. Until basically the Industrial Revolution, there was electricity everywhere. What was the situation? They didn't even go out to daven Marv in the olden days. In Batei Knesses. If they daven Marv, when did they daven Marv? Not even at Shkia, before Shkia, like Rabbeinu Tam points out. Even every day. If you daven Marv after Shkia, it's dangerous to walk back home because now it's dark. You wait for Marv for Shkia. If they ever did Marv, Rambam says, if you don't want to go out, they daven Marv after Shkia. If you or no Marv. Rambam doesn't hold of Marv before Shkia except if Motzei Shabbos or Shabbos. And that's why Rav Kavach points out. The Rambam holds Motzei Shabbos early Marv. You could still daven Marv early, well before Shkia. And Rav Kabach brings in Teiman, they didn't go out after Shabbos for Marv. You don't go out at night. Hold on a second. Hold on, I have to make a statement here. The new part is referring to the door. I already attached the door, it worked. The problem now is if you open up the top, there's a belt problem. The thing does not spin. That's the current problem. We have to diagnose the current problem. Okay. You want to fix the dryer? The guy finally showed up now. Okay. Thank you very much, but now it's like inconvenient. So it was sakana. What?
Walking around.
Yeah. What they say? By half an hour after Shkia, no one's on the street. That's where the Rambam has it. Yeah, half an hour.
Around at Shkia.
Yeah, people are around at Shkia because right after the sun sets, it's not like it's like a video game. Sunset, perfect darkness. Sunset means scurry home if you haven't gotten home already. And by half an hour, that's it. No one's else on the street. That's the way the Rambam and Chazal assumed. 35 minutes after Shkia, there's someone out there. You can't even light Hanukkah candles now, according to their opinion, because it's useless. Okay, you have half an hour and that's it. Okay, so people don't go out. So that's why it's like this. So I like to say that this last bolded sentence, with this, you can't compare waking up early and going out when it's now still dark to go to daven to staying out in shul when it's late. Teenagers, to make themselves feel good on a Thursday night, They learn more and they have some cholent, so they stay up late. That's easy. Wake up early Friday morning. Wake up early Shabbos when you don't have to. An hour before davening so you could learn. That's Mesiras Nefesh. Hold on one second. I didn't buy anything because I don't know if the belt was even ripped. It could be disconnected. I've only know that it's a belt problem. We have to diagnose the problem currently. Well, I don't know. No one's looked at it. We need someone to look at it right now. Why is it more dangerous at the beginning of the night to stay out? That's when the robbers start their, that's when they start the thing. Robbers are already back and hiding wherever it is before it starts getting light in the morning, and then it becomes safe again. By the way, so this shows the difference between the approaches. What happened here? What's mentioned in Yerushalmi is a description of the situation that humanity faced. You don't go out at night because of the danger. You don't leave the city walls late at night because of clear and present dangers. And people understood these things as night is times of demons and things. That's just a way of describing that. It so happens that worse things happen at night. If it's pitch dark, you can't help. If someone gets hurt in the middle of the night, they don't have floodlights. They don't have an ambulance. That's a time where you want people just to stay as safe as they can. Okay? But like many other cases, this idea that night is dangerous, it became a metaphysical. Night is inherently dangerous. Even if you're in a well-lit base bedroom in a town that has now LEDs all over the place, so it's as bright as day in the middle of the night, and we're surrounded by a fence, and everybody's walking around armed, and all the men are awake now. How many men are actually sleeping now? Right? Okay, it's not dangerous anymore. But they say, no, it becomes halachically essential. It's like the idea. One Amora said he thinks it's dangerous to eat fish and meat together. That becomes like, that's it. Forever. You have to watch out. You have to wash your, what? Cook together. Yes, if it's cooked together, it creates this, you have to believe. But this is beyond it. They think that there's some sort of concept, something beyond your human comprehension that makes the night not only dangerous, it makes it halachically dangerous. You cannot perform certain commandments at night because you're going to cause some sort of cosmic imbalance between the forces of din and the forces of rachamim. And the forces of din have the power of the demons or the spirits behind them. You understand? So this is one of those, okay, whatever it is. Whatever. I'm sorry for the interruptions, but this is something that we've been waiting like 6 weeks for. So there you go. Basically, the bottom line is this example of the slichot, so you can't say it the first half of the night, is a perfect example of something that is post-Talmudic, post-Shulchan Aruch. It doesn't fit with a halachic understanding of Judaism, and you have to take it on faith that really there's something really majorly wrong with it. But most people, if you tell them, they think that this is because it's mentioned in Magen Avraham, and that's what people do, so it must be something really wrong. So I just like I said, I want to defend the practice. So if people are getting together for slichos tonight at 10 o'clock or even 9 o'clock, just to know, it's not that they're sticking it to the Kabbalists and they're being some sort of apikorsim. It's that they're just being regular Jews following the halacha. And God should answer their prayers. So we'll close with our own prayer. If we can pray to God for mercy at this time, even though it's not at 9 p.m., that he relent and see the destruction of enemies, release us from our own stupidity. Okay, man, we only sin. People only sin if they get a ruach shtut, and Am Yisrael is certainly possessed by ruach shtut. It doesn't mean that there's some sort of demon that's possessing them, like the Christians think. It means that we have orlas lev, which is another expression meaning we just haven't figured ourselves out yet, and we have to get back with the program. Have a good Shabbos and a good every class is every Thursday. Yes, that's how it is. We do this every Thursday. So have a Shabbat Shalom. Be well. Shabbat Shalom v'nitzachon.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.